Duke wins. Fatality.
But the quest for peace lies before us. The problem is not the death of one man. The problem is the life of this organization. It will either grow to meet the challenges of our age, or it will be gone with the wind, without influence, without force, without respect. And a test of those only willing to talk, and a test of those willing to act. Such a plan would not bring a world free from conflict and greed, but it would bring a world free from the terrors of mass destruction. It would not usher in the... We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
temperature of the globe. Ironically, at a recent NASA meeting on the topic of managing solar, a meeting coordinator apologized for not being able to control the temperature of the room. Think about it. This is Hurricane King, 1947, when Project Cirrus intervened and seeded it. They wanted to announce to the press that they could control hurricanes, but basically they canceled the press conference when it came ashore and devastated Savannah, Georgia. Other diplomatic disasters include Project Storm Fury in the 1960s, where Fidel Castro accused America of cloud seeding over Cuba, and Vietnam, Operation Popeye, when the UN subsequently outlawed hostile use of weather modification. People have said that climate control is not a good idea. Harry Wexler, the head of research at the Weather Bureau, said this in 1962. And just 2 years ago, Bert Berlin, the first chair of the IPCC, wrote, "The political implications of geoengineering are largely impossible to assess, and it is not a viable solution because in most cases it's an illusion to assume that all possible changes can be foreseen."
Roughly how much CO2 do human beings put into the air, anthropogenic CO2, on a daily basis? Anyone have an estimate of that? Or annual, whatever numbers? Dr. Caldera?
The average American puts out something like their own average body weight each day in the form of carbon dioxide, so something like 150 pounds of CO2 per person per day in the United States.
Times 300 million people.
Right, times 365 days a year.
Uh-huh. Mr. Roebuck, did you want to add to that? The reason I asked the question is we are doing geoengineering on a massive scale. I mean, if 100 years ago somebody had said, hey, here's a bright idea, we should promote a plan to put that much carbon into the air, and Dr. Caldera, I commend you for mentioning ocean acidification, 25% of which will go into the oceans, make the oceans 30% more acidic within 50 years, and then continuing on after that to make it so acidic that it reaches levels not seen since the age of the dinosaurs and dissolve coral reefs. Shouldn't Congress support that? People would say, you're crazy. That geoengineering on that scale, which is what we are doing, and now we're looking at ways to reverse that. Second observation would be, years ago there was a psychologist named Elizabeth Kubler-Ross who looked at what happens when people are dying, and not everybody goes through her stages of dying, which got a lot of play at the time, but nevertheless her stages of dying went, denial and then bargaining. And bargaining tends to be, isn't there going to be someone to come rescue me from this cancer or this other illness that I've got? It strikes me that we're sort of in those stages now. And the reason I raise that in the context of geoengineering, we've had a whole series of hearings in my committee, of this committee, my subcommittee, and this full committee, on carbon sequestration, on nuclear fusion, on geoengineering, and it seems to be everybody's trying to say, isn't there some way out there that we don't have to make changes in our behavior? What about in water? I mean, we're also geoengineering our water system. We're putting hundreds of billions of pounds of effluent and fertilizers, et cetera, in the water. What are some positive changes that we can do to agricultural practices, runoff practices, et cetera, that could help improve the quality of our water? Not, dumping clay into as a flocculant of algal blooms, but some positive things to reduce them from occurring to begin with. Do any of you have comments on that? Or are we mostly atmospheric here? I mean, you get the point I'm trying to make here, that we are causing the problem through our own behavior.